Mainstream comic books aren't doing very well. Manga is pretty much cleaning their clock on every chart. You have clueless comic book pros who are celebrating that like that's a resurgence of comic books. maybe for manga books, American comics, I don't see how that helps them at all. They're very, very different. I mean, you don't really usually see trash like this in manga. So I really don't understand how you plan on pulling those consumers over to this. I don't really think that they're going to find anything that they want to actually read here. It's not really what they're into. You can give the character big eyes. I don't think that that's really going to bring them over. It's a little bit more than just that. A little bit more than just that. But DC Comics doing so badly, cutting back so much, they're down to 34 titles in March. I've reported on this already, but I just want to share it again to show you the significant cutbacks that they're doing. This isn't something you do in a healthy comic book industry. I don't think people really realize that. And what's really funny is 14 of the 34 books, 14 of them are Batman-related books. A couple Superman and Wonder Woman books in there. Essentially, there's very few risk-taking books, basically. You got a Swamp Thing and a few other books here and there, but pretty much they're all safe. These are books that are probably going to sell. Everything else is gone, so no risks, really. They're not taking like a Hawkman and giving him a book, even though that book, from what I was told, was really good. Here's what I wanted. So there's a new YA book I want to go over, and this news right here, which is actually kind of funny. So they've actually fired so many people. They fired so many people. There was another round, as bloodbath number 3 for their staff. They fired so many people that the person who tells people they're fired or not going to work got fired. So a bunch of comic book creators are basically realizing they're not working, like right now. Like no one told them. So they're just sitting there like, well, I guess I'll be drawing a book, right? Where's my work? No one told them. So they're essentially just now finding out. I guess maybe they should have stopped tweeting about Trump all day and maybe look to see if they still have work, because this is all they do. Insult customers and talk about politics. Like people that follow Dan Slott, who's not working at DC, but I'm just using him as an example. Follow him for his hot take on the Orange Man and the economy. No one gives a shit about what a comic book professional's political takes are. You don't like that? Well, they just tell you don't buy their books. Well, a lot of people did just that. They stopped buying your books. And now, your market is so destroyed, the person that was supposed to tell you you're fired got fired. I mean, I guess they really don't owe you anything. You're freelancers, right? This is the shield you've used over and over again to avoid getting fired and not having to work. Well, now you don't have to worry about anything. You don't even get told you're fired. So I just thought this was kind of amusing. Normally, I would be upset and a little, empathetic to people losing their jobs. But the comic book industry, there's a lot of people in the comic book industry that are just pieces of shit. They're terrible people, horrible people, to be honest. They've ragged on fans, called them istophobes. We don't need you. Gail Simone, famously, who I wonder if she was supposed to be working. I wonder if she got fired again. Famously said, "Oh, it's okay to chip away at that cis male audience. We don't need them. So we can chip away at them to get a new audience." Well, how's that working out for you? I don't feel bad for these people. They've done nothing but trash fans for years, and this is just as you would say, the chickens coming home to roost. So, listen to this. Bleeding Cool understands that this month, a number of DC Comics writers and artists realize that their upcoming work for DC Comics may not be quite as upcoming as they thought. They discovered this, in some cases, by reading the DC Comics solicitations for March 2021. The reduction in the number of titles as well as contracts being previously signed with creators who were meant to be working on the 5G line have meant that a number of creators without such contracts have been jettisoned from their titles. And with editorial numbers being decimated over the last year, it seems that whoever was meant to inform such creators of the change in upcoming work may not have told everyone, likely because they were fired. So whoever was supposed to tell people, they got let go. Cue a number of phone calls, email threads, and even an occasional what's up shout out with longtime DC creators looking for work, with a flurry of editors at Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom, Dynamite, and the like receiving, hey, I'm suddenly available messages. Expect to see a few creators who are all but only known for their work at DC popping up in solicitations in months to come. It also doesn't help that while DC Comics has created more anthology titles and titles with backup strips, the number of titles and the total page count of work being created has dropped dramatically. So yeah, this is another thing. So these titles right here, right? So in Batman 106 or 107 maybe, it's going to go from $3.99 to $5. And they'll put a backup character who would have had their own book in the back of the book. And so now an artist that would have got paid for 20-something pages will now get paid for 6 pages of that backup story or however many they receive. So it's a bad day for the comic book industry, but they did it to themselves by creating crap products for years. This isn't the only horrible decision. We have this too. Check this out. Jessica Cruz gets her own Green Lantern graphic novel with ice. So essentially, Jessica Cruz, a Green Lantern. This is some shitty art, by the way. Terrible art. What the hell is this art? Let me know if this sounds like a story that you think you would be interested in reading. Jessica Cruz has done everything right. She's a dedicated student, popular among her classmates, and has a loving family that has done everything they can to give her a better life in the United States. While Jessica is a part of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, allowing her to go to school and live in the U.S., her parents are undocumented. Jessica usually worries for her parents, but her fears and anxiety escalate as a new candidate for mayor with a strong anti-immigration stance runs for office. As the xenophobia in Coast City increases, Jessica begins to debate whether it's worth renewing her status to stay in the U.S. or if her family would be safer to move back to Mexico. And despite her attempts to lean on her friends and family, she finds herself constantly visited by visions of Aztec gods, one pulling her towards hope and the other towards anger. But when her father is detained by ICE, Jessica finds herself be pulled into the abyss of fear. With her father gone and feeling helpless, Jessica must find a way out of her fears and ultimately become a voice of her community. So I don't know if she's actually a Green Lantern in this. It kind of sounds like she's not going to be, which to me takes away from the point. Like she's a Green Lantern, but they did something like this with Gotham High, like put Bruce Wayne in a high school, and it was a love triangle. Is this really going to pull? Any of you actually want to read this? I guess is the question. Like, so this is the future for DC Comics. You know, and I've said this before, instead of like looking at manga and say, wow, it's really successful stuff. How do we copy that and actually make some money and maybe double down and get some of that audience? They instead decide to do this. You think that this is going to pull in more work? Like, you think you're going to rebuild the comic book industry by doubling down on woke trash? Really don't think this is going to help you out. But, hey, double down on it. It gives me material for the channel. So, you know, it's kind of it all works out for me. You know, it doesn't work out for you, though, comic book industry, because nobody wants this trash. Anyway, that's pretty much it. What are your thoughts on all this? What do you think about them firing the person that tells people they're not working? What do you think about this new woke Jessica Cruz story? Give me your thoughts on all this. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Also, if you would, please like, share the video. Make sure you still subscribe. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out.